All right, let's talk a little bit about money distribution, meta, OTAs. And I'd love to invite on stage a very distinguished panel. Can I please invite up on stage, firstly, Salvo Busardo, Head of Sales for D-Edge, Ben Charlton, Commercial Director, Asia Pacific for Mews, Luis Mavraidis, Head of, Spanish, Head of New South Wales and ACT Market Manager for Expedia, and AJ, Strategic Account Manager for Siteminder, to talk all about OTA, GDS, and new trends in distribution. Let's talk about GDS, OTA, and to me, I think it's such a very important distribution. I mean, I talk a lot about the OTA and distribution channel, but why don't I try and talk about a little bit about what's happening in that scene, because a lot of things have changed as well. Would I have a mic at all? Or? Yeah, okay, cool, thank you. Thank you, the guys from Encore, thank you. I told you today it'll be very casual. That's all right. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about, we've probably seen the hotel direct market share change in the last few years. Do you have any insight that can be shared with us today, how the market share? Salvo?
Yes, of course. DH works with 17,000, 18,000 hotels worldwide, so we collect a fair bit of data I would like to share with you today. Certainly compared to 2019, where the market share of direct business was 25% in Asia Pacific, has moved a fair bit up to 44%, then 49%, and now at 44% back again. So certainly hotels in Asia Pacific have done very well, unlike in Europe, where the maximum that we have seen is 34, 35%. In terms of key players, certainly Booking Group, so including Agoda and Expedia are the key players. Booking Group in the last couple of years has actually grown the market share from 21% to 31%. Expedia has lost a little bit of traction, 6% down, at least in our stats. And direct booking is also very important particularly for 4- and 5-star hotels, because they reach the highest penetration in direct market. We've seen some 5-star hotel doing 69% of direct business. So that's excellent in terms of length of stay length of stay. Definitely direct business has the longer length of stay as well.
Anyone else on the panel want to answer that question? How have you seen the hotel direct market share change in the last few years? Ben, AJ, Ben?
Well, I think the big part of this has been driven by the customer not going overseas anymore, and so domestic has become a hell of a lot easier and people have time to research. So I don't know whether the stats of the last couple of years are really indicative of what's coming in the future, to be totally honest.
Yeah, I think post-COVID has changed that preference for travelers to book directly as well, right? So we have seen different scale of properties achieve different scale of results. Like the smaller properties, direct booking has ended up being in the top 3 easily. And when it comes to the bigger regional chains, you see the direct booking being part of the top 5 channels. So it's part of the strategies that hotels have adopted post-COVID, and also how technology has played a part in driving those results.
What can hotels do to reduce their distribution costs and grow direct business? That's the whole panel.
I'll start. Definitely what hotels that do very well in this space are present at every step of the customer journey, from the consideration phase, playing with Google search ads during the first the awareness space, then the consideration space, with a good website, making sure that your property perform well there. In the Metasearch space during the consideration phase, as well as the final purchase phase of the customer journey with an effective booking engine. So being present everywhere, it's really, really important. That works the best.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. One of the success stories, I think, for the hotels that are using our platform is that we have the Google Hotel Finder integration. So the information pulls straight out of the PMS straight into Google Hotel Finder, and that's been a real success. But I heard you talk earlier, Adrian, I think a lot of things that you talk about there are being where your customers are looking. Obviously, that's the big part, right? And we talk a lot about we don't want the customers booking for the OTAs, but if they're on the OTAs, then you just want to make sure you're optimizing for that space. I work for Marriott and I work for Expedia, so I sat on both sides, and I understand the argument. But I think if you don't want your wholesale rates distributed on these OTA platforms, don't contract the wholesale rates. That's the number one thing. And the second part is, build base. I think go back to old school revenue management of building base, getting it locked in, and then rewarding yourself when the occupancy fills up.
Anyone else, Lewis?
Yeah, like the presentation before, it's embraced the new technology that's out there, and we've got a virtual assistant, platform on our website, and we're starting to open that technology to all our partners, because the problems we have are probably the same problems that you have. So now you can take that virtual assistant that we have and embed it onto your own website. So you're not there 24 hours to service your guests. That virtual agent will be there to do it, helps optimize it, reduces costs, resources that you can put elsewhere into your business to help drive that. So embrace the new technology that's out there.
Yeah. You touched a little bit there on wholesale rates. What do you think about dynamic wholesale rate feeds?
Louis?
Look,
everything's dynamic. I mean, there's.
Yeah, absolutely. We think this is a real big opportunity for the market. We've been working with some of the large chains for the past couple of years because they've been trying to solve for this problem where there's been rate misuse or inefficiencies out there. It takes a lot of resource, a lot of technology and time to get that. And they didn't get the outcomes they wanted. So we saw that as a problem in the marketplace. We're here to serve customers together jointly as a relationship. And that's where we've been working with these chains. And we produced a program called Optimized Distribution. We're going to then learn from that and be able to then customize it for independent hotels as well. So we're looking at the next 6 to 12 months to distribute that to everybody. What we found out of it was that of the 20,000 participating hotels in their properties, we had 80% reduction of misuse of rates, and they increased by 4 times access to different businesses out there as well. So it's not just about having control and putting a framework in place, because we have a team in place to make sure these rates are used correctly, and also to reach the demand partners that you are after, whether it's international or business travellers or whatever it may be out there, to help them reach those partners in an efficient and cost-effective way as well.
Yeah. AJ?
I mean, from a technology perspective, dynamic rate is a much better solution than putting contracted rates out there with wholesalers where you have least control. Because once you move it to dynamic rate, you're basically bringing it within the control of your revenue management strategy overall. And that gives you much more control of what you're trying to achieve with those rates, whilst aligning it with the rest of the distribution strategy. So when you put technology in charge of what you're trying to achieve, I feel our clients see a better control of what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and a bit of AI thrown in there as well.
Absolutely.
Talking a little bit, you talked about the corporate travel segment there. Has that sort of changed post-COVID, AJ? And what are you seeing hotels are doing differently to leverage GDS, AJ?
Yeah, so from a Siteminder perspective, hotel groups that work with us on GDS, I mean, it's very clear that they're trying to leverage GDS as a channel to drive occupancy revenue goals. But what they're doing differently now is, what we understand is hotels are trying to invest their limited resources when it comes to staffing. They want their corporate sales team to go out there and build and strengthen those relationships with the travel agents and take control of the RFP process, whilst working with a proven GDS providers like ourselves to take care of the campaign management. Whether it's content optimization of your business, of your hotels, whether it's your availability, looking into rates, what rates are performing, what are the consortia programs that's relevant to your location and relevant to your property. So that kind of thing is being delegated to GDS providers, whilst the hotels themselves go out and build on those relationships, which I think is a perfect strategy, because you're looking after relationship and you're looking after performance. That translates into revenue.
Yeah, what we've seen post-COVID is a little bit different. Is the large corporates have always used travel management companies, but what they've put in is more control to ensure that their employees are booking through that portal. Why are they doing that? They want transparency to know where everyone's travelling. there's duty of care to know where your staff at any point in time, reporting and cost control. So, like even at our company, we before could book on What If, Expedia or a direct airline, we've been strictly told that you now must use, Agencia. Makes sense. But a lot of other corporates are doing the same thing. So trying to get that corporate business is no longer there, it's diminishing. And the SMEs have now also moved in that space, and Agencia was in that sweet spot. They were after the SMEs, and we've seen that grow immensely post-COVID, so we're seeing those numbers coming through. So trying to get that corporate customer now is a little bit more elusive, but then how can you work with other distributors to get access to those corporates is what you should be thinking about.
There's another side of distribution. It's spoken about probably in terms of rooms as hoteliers start to probably embrace revenue. What's the future for when we're going to have a session this afternoon on meetings, conferences, and additional services like car park, Ben? Because that's another area.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think most of this conference we talked about rooms. We talked about rooms I check in the afternoon and I check out in the morning. And one of the things that we're really seeing is that hotels that are winning in a total total revenue share is when they're looking at all of the spaces that are in their hotel and being able to maximise those from a revenue point of view. So using technology to manage your car park, it can be in the same platform. So we have a few hotels that are using space for a yoga studio. They have a booking engine that's associated with it. You can go in and book a space in there as a yoga instructor and you can run your own yoga studio. So I think it's an interesting sort of point where we're not really distributing this in the right way. Day use is another example. Like we have so many people that need day use rooms, and there's like one platform here. And I posted something on LinkedIn recently to say, like, why do we not do more around day use? And revenue managers jumped on and said, because the systems don't support it. That's simply not true. It's actually, we just haven't spent any time on it. It's such a wasted opportunity. So I think as we move into these new revenue streams, we need to think about what does your tech stack look like to be able to support that, and how do you really maximize all the square meters in your hotel?
And I just want to add, I mean, this is not just for the bigger hotels, right? Even the smaller independent hotels can capitalize this because, once you have the guest data, you can leverage technology at smaller scale to be in touch with your guests and sell other services once they're booked with you, right? Like whether it's breakfast, whether it's car parking, or for that matter, upgrades and upsells. So there are technological solutions out there which you can capitalize, and it's not necessarily for the big hotels only.
Yep, okay. You probably think I'm shuffling these papers. I mean, these gentlemen have given me some amazing questions. I'm just trying to pick which ones to keep it with the flow. But talking about the small operators, I mean, what do you recommend, AJ, in terms of, you work with a lot of them, the old TripAdvisor days and everything. What do you recommend? How should they be using Meta and the benefits of it? Because it's sort of a forgotten channel, or someone else does it. Should they be controlling it? How much control should they have?
See, meta advertising for me, from a Siteminder perspective, is a low-hanging fruit, which is a massive opportunity for hotels. In a nutshell, if I define it, like it's taking control of your digital storefronts, right? These are people on your business listings on Google, TripAdvisor, Trivago, etc. And these are brand familiar audience. So they are more likely to convert, and these are traffic that's likely to give you that base when it comes to your digital book direct strategy. So do you need to take control of it? Yes. Now the benefits are, like, you need to be participating in a meta advertising program that gives you that ease of activation. Like, can you go active on meta advertising tomorrow if you wanted to for your business listing? Yes, there are solutions out there. One other thing I want to call out is there's creativity available when it comes to how you account for that cost. So for example, if you're participating in a cost per acquisition based meta advertising program, then the cost could be accounted as cost of sales in your P&L, which leaves your entire rest of the advertising budget to be available for you to do other top-line marketing activities. So yesterday, Melissa from Crystal Brook spoke about there's a limit to which you can do depend on brand terms, right? So there's scope for you to gain if you do the meta advertising program carefully and correctly. That gives you a huge base in terms of revenue.
Yep. Salvo, you're a Meta, you provide Meta. How inexpensive is it for the small? Because as I said, these conferences are not just about for the C-level, also about the smaller players as well who haven't got much revenue. How easy is it to get on Meta? How much would they should be putting on there?
I agree with AJ. Definitely a place where you need to be because it's towards the bottom of the funnel. So it's a very qualified traffic that is coming through Meta. So yesterday you, Adrian, mentioned if you have a limited amount of money, where should I put it? And you said on search. For brand protection, and certainly that's correct. I would also add Metasearch to that space, use that money to do that. Also, there is Google Free Links. It's something that, perhaps we could discuss today as well. So Google Free Links was created in 2021, and if you look at the meta space on the desktop, for example, you have the top 4 sponsored listing, and the bottom more than 20 could be free links. You can also show up as an official website hotel, so that's really great. We have done a study in this space. So we've compared the performance of 1,000 hotels at the end of 2022, so after booking free links, and before COVID in 2019, the same number of hotels. I've noticed that overall the booking generated increased by 95%. And of this new growth, so from, let's say, 100 to 195, of this 195, 66% were coming from paid space and 33% from free links. That means that it's really a place to be both ways, free links and paid links.
And I'm all about sort of being out there in as many channels as possible.
Absolutely.
So that whole billboard effect. If they book for a Meta, great, an OTA, great, but it's all about the billboard effect. So.
And that's when it's very important that your rate there, it's the right rate, the best possible rate.
Yeah.
I'm somewhat controversial, but I don't think that Meta is part of a core strategy. I think that there's a lot of other things I would do before I got into the Meta channel, and if you're talking about small operators, which you are, budgets are tight, right? Like I can't afford to spend the kind of money that Meta needs. I think that an optimized OTA listing, yes, definitely, and even potentially getting to the top of the search, however you guys do that algorithm now. I think that they're important things, but the reality is that if you have a really, I sound like repeating some of the stuff Adrian said, but if you have a really good website and a great booking engine, an optimized for mobile website, like that's where you should be spending your money. Yeah. And you have a great guest experience. I worked with a small operator in Margaret River. He was a hotelier. We worked together. He bought a hotel that had 85% of their bookings coming from Booking.com. I can tell you now that all of his traffic is direct, and he hasn't spent $1 on Meta. So
there's a place for it. I mean,
yeah.
And I mean, I think that's what I'm saying. It's sort of low-hanging fruit. I'm not saying not use it, Salvo, or anything, but it is there as well.
I mean, so that's why I said, if you are being creative, like if you can participate in a CPA-based program like the Demand Plus by Siteminder, then you're not eating into your budget. You're letting Siteminder or your Meta provider take the risk for you, and then you spend your money on essential.
I mean, if you look at the clients that we work with groups, multinationals, we work with small ones as well. If you look at where their most revenue comes from, probably the number one, website, then SEO, then paid, then email, then probably social, then Meta, GDS, in that sort of order. And that's how people say, how to allocate my budget, that's where I'd be going as well. Let's talk a little bit about OTAs. Lewis, I mean, being Expedia and all that, what's the role of OTAs now in this current market? I still love OTAs, I still think, but what's your take on the partnerships that hotels need to build? Because I don't think they have partnerships, but they don't. You know what I mean? So
yeah. First, let's look at the travel ecosystem on a global basis. So it's a 2 trillion, make it 3 trillion in AUD, right? So it's a big business out there. And when you look at Expedia Group, all our brands, What If, Expedia, Hotels.com, let's put Booking Holdings in there as well, Agoda and Booking.com, and let's put Airbnb. Putting those 3 entities together, we make up approximately 15% of the travel market. So it shows there's still travel booked by other means, but that travel now has become very fragmented in how people book travel. So what I mean by that is we've got our B2C business, all those brands I just mentioned, but we also have our B2B business where we have an API, rapid API, where we're using our technology to get access to more travel customers that are hard to reach. And when we look at some of our partners, 50 to maybe even up to 70% of their business now is coming from our B2B distribution. It's not just the B2C side, it's the B2B as well. And they're hard to get customers because, like we just mentioned before, there's the corporate, there's also the financial institutions. They've got a locked, closed user group. How do you get access to them? Each little hotel cannot build an API, manage agreements and get those customers to come their way. Loyalty programs as well, right? Very lucrative to get access to them. Again, you can't build the technology to convert points to bookings. So getting access to those customers is really critical. So working with your OTAs to understand where's that mix coming from and how can you get more access to those customers that you need to help meet your goals.
Yeah, talking about APIs, I mean, the APIs are they're expanding and they're less expensive to connect and everything. I mean, hoteliers will be able to go direct on their distribution partners. How do channel managers evolve? Ben?
I think I put that question down for AJ, actually.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah. See, it's also about, it's not, everything is not just about, cheap and how less expensive it is, right? It's all to do with your business strategy.
Yeah.
As a business, what are you trying to achieve? How are you trying to achieve your top line goals? And how are you trying to achieve your bottom line goals? Those are two different things. So how channel managers evolve is all about how do we bring quality integration and not necessarily about quantity of integration. Yes, how can we add to speed to market for hotels? Like there are chains that are rolling out new properties. How can channel managers be there to help you to go to market quickly? And how can channel managers bring experienced support teams to help you achieve that goal? Because you're investing millions of dollars to open new hotels. You need a proven technology and a proven support team behind you. And also about efficiency, right? How can you roll out new rate plans and room types efficiently so that you're out there in the market doing less of the repetitive work and focusing on the strategy? So I would say focus on the top line and how technology can help you, irrespective of who is cheap and who is...
And use technology, use the platforms that you have out there. If you're a small operator, medium-sized operator, use these platforms out there, use technology to then sort of, get into all these different, OTAs, the channel managers, Meta and all that. And as I said, top of the funnel, website, SEO, etc. So from there, so Ben.
I just want to
Ben?
add one thing.
Oh, sorry.
Talking about technology, one thing I believe is invest on technology that can bring your different teams together. Your marketing team, your finance team, your operations team should all be tied so that your tech stack should talk to each other. And when you're choosing, pick horses for courses, right? Yes, you need a solid PMS provider like Mews to give you that operational efficiency. You need the channel manager that gives you the breadth in terms of connectivity to different channels. You need a booking engine that delivers that conversion rate like what we've been talking. So think about what are the different components of technology you need to work with each other that can bring your different teams together so that you can achieve your top line goals whilst meeting your bottom line goals.
Okay.
Ben? Actually, kind of what I was going to say. There's so many conversations I have with people that come to us and say, hey, we need a new PMS. And it's like, okay, what does your tech stack look like? And they can't tell me. So like really understanding what subscriptions are you paying for? How easy do they integrate? If they're not a two-way integration, it's not saving you any time. So, really start to understand what is that subscription bringing you? How does it automate your process throughout the journey for your guest as well as your staff? And if you need to change it out, because it's not a big a deal. PMS is still not that fun to change. I know I'm not going to pretend it's not. But if you've got a subscription, change it out. You can plug in Revenate straight away. It's done, it's instant, and the information flows. That's how easy it should be with changing any technology. So understand the tech stack for sure.
Yeah. Okay. In terms of geolocation rates, what do you think? And it's starting to appear more and more. And, I've seen a lot of platforms start doing it. I change my... on my computer to view different shows on TV. I mean, geolocation rates, what do you think? Good, bad, they're here to stay.
Been around for a while.
People are getting different rates for the same hotel, same availability, but it's different from where they're searching from.
I think...
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that one.
Yeah.
We get a lot of partners that we talk to that tell us, our problem is that we have... midweek issue, haven't got enough travellers coming through. We're pretty okay on the domestic market, but we want to actually attract the international traveller. It could be corporate on top. So we can actually target that specific customer to help meet their needs. So And that's just one example. Another one is when China just opened up, Australia was excluded out of the group bookings as an approved country, but FITs could still travel.
Yeah.
So we were able to target that, that narrow segment of just a specific country and particular traveller coming through. And we're very successful in getting a lot of bookings through for our hotel partners to meet that specific need, where they previously had that Chinese traveller that, disappeared.
Makes sense, doesn't it? So, yeah.
There's definitely a place for it, but my advice for hotels would be measure the results and see how that's
Data,
that's impacting your current revenue and business on the books, and especially how that's impacting your book direct strategy. I mean, definitely you need to target the international market. You need to be doing your mobile first strategy, etc. And also think about how can I replicate this from my book direct strategy technology perspective. Can my booking engine facilitate promo code based rates, mobile only rates? And if you don't have a booking engine that supports it, keep asking your vendor, when am I getting it? What do I need to do it? So just have those conversations while embracing vendors that already provide that for you.
Yep. Gentlemen, we've run out of time, but that was a very great conversation. Learnt a lot. Please thank my panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you want to talk to them, they're around all day. I mean, for the next couple of hours anyway.